Welcome to channel. Subscribe me. Sparkles the mountain of the last answer. 15-minute version. Sparkles. Elias Harrow had always lived in the shadow of unfinished dreams. Half-written novels, abandoned hobbies, half-hearted attempts at change. He had become an expert at giving up just before the breakthrough. As a delivery driver in the quiet town of Silverpine, he spent his days wandering roads and his nights wondering how some people found purpose while he drifted. One evening, after a long shift, Elias parked by Clearwind Lake. Mist rolled over the water, and the mountains loomed tall and dark. He sat on the hood of his van, feeling small, tired, and stuck. "You look like a man carrying more questions than boxes," a voice said. Elias turned. An old man with silver hair and a long indigo coat stood nearby. He seemed almost carved from the fog itself. "I'm fine," Elias said, though he wasn't. The old man gave him a knowing smile. "Then why stare at the mountains as if they owe you answers?" Elias didn't respond. The man pointed to the tallest peak, Midnight Crest, shrouded in swirling clouds. "If you truly seek answers, climb that mountain. But be warned, it gives only one, the last answer, and it changes those who reach it." Elias frowned. "A myth. Perhaps." The old man's eyes glimmered. "But every myth starts with a climber who dares to test it." And before Elias could say another word, the stranger vanished into the mist. 1. The first step. The next morning, Elias woke with a restlessness he couldn't shake. Something about the old man's words had burrowed into him. By noon, he had packed a backpack and driven to the edge of the forest. At the base of the trail stood a broken wooden sign. "Turn back. Those who seek the last answer must face themselves." Elias exhaled. "Maybe that's exactly what I need." He entered the forest. 2. The forest that whispers. The deeper Elias walked, the stranger the air felt, thick, aware, almost listening. Leaves rustled even without wind. Shadows stretched in unnatural directions. Then came the whisper. "You always quit." Elias froze. Another whisper. "You leave before the ending." His heartbeat quickened. The voices were his own doubts, spoken aloud by the trees. Memories surfaced, projects abandoned, dreams neglected, friendships lost because he pulled away. He shook his head. Not this time. As if challenging him, thick vines blocked the path. He pushed, crawled, fought through, scratched and breathless but determined, until the forest finally loosened its grip and allowed him out of the shadows. For the first time in years, Elias felt like he had pushed through instead of turning back. 3. The wall of wind. Hours later, he reached a cliff where wind hammered the ground with the strength of a crashing tide. Dust and small stones spiraled into the air. Elias stepped forward, and the wind threw him back. He tried again, and again. Each attempt ended with him stumbling, scraping, failing. "This is impossible," he muttered. But then a thought hit him. Everything I quit always felt impossible at the start. He wrapped his rope around a rock, tied the other end around his waist, and pushed into the wind. Every step felt like wading through an invisible ocean. The wind screamed, furious at his persistence. But he kept going, one step at a time, and suddenly quiet. He had passed through it. Elias let out a breathless laugh. "I didn't stop." The mountain seemed to acknowledge him with a low hum of wind. 4. Night in the cave. Exhausted, he found a small cave to shelter in as darkness fell. He lit a fire and leaned back, muscles aching, mind racing. Then a voice echoed from the cave walls, his own voice. "Why pretend?" it said. "You think a single climb will fix a lifetime of running?" Elias clenched his jaw. "I'm not pretending." "You've wasted years," the echo accused. "You think you're worth changing now?" The fire flickered. Elias stared into it, tears welling. "I know I've wasted time. I know I've failed. But I'm trying now. That's more than I've done in a long time." The echo softened. "If you truly mean that, climb higher." Then silence returned, gentle this time. Elias slept without dreams. 5. the ledge of regrets. By sunrise, he continued upward, the mountain growing steeper and colder. At one point, he reached a narrow ledge hugging a deadly drop. As he moved forward, the rock beneath him suddenly crumbled. He plunged, his hand shot out, catching the edge by his fingertips. Fear surged through him. The void below seemed endless. Let go. You don't belong up here. You'll never change. But then he remembered the photo in his pocket. The little boy he once was, full of fearless imagination. A boy who believed he could be anything. Elias growled through clenched teeth. I'm not letting go of myself again. With burning muscles, he pulled himself up, rolling onto the ledge. He lay there panting, victorious. The sky above him seemed a shade brighter. 6. The summit. By late afternoon, Elias reached the peak. Snow glittered like diamonds under the fading sun. In the center stood a stone pedestal. Upon it, a mirror. Beside it stood the old man in the indigo coat. You made it, he said softly. Elias stared.
How?
You were at the lake. I told you, the man replied. I climbed this mountain once. And when you climb it, it never truly lets you go. Elias approached the mirror. This is the last answer? Look.
He did.
At first he saw only his dirt-streaked reflection. But then the mirror shimmered and changed. He saw himself laughing in a bright studio while painting. He saw himself writing novels. He saw himself leading a hike. He saw himself running a business. He saw himself helping others climb their own mountains. Versions of him, stronger, bolder, kinder, fulfilled. All real. All possible. Elias's throat tightened. What does this mean? The old man stepped beside him. It means the last answer is not something the mountain gives. It is something you discover on the way. He rested a hand on Elias's shoulder. You can become any version of yourself, Elias Harrow, but only if you choose to keep climbing long after the wind and the darkness and the doubts try to push you back. Elias wiped his eyes. I choose to keep climbing. The mirror dimmed, but the warmth in his chest remained, steady and fierce. 7. Returning a different man. Elias descended the mountain with a new steadiness in his step. The forest no longer whispered doubts, only quiet respect. The wind didn't resist him. Even the ledges seemed less threatening. When he arrived in Silverpine, he felt like a man who had shed a heavy coat he'd worn for years. He began writing again, daily, with passion. He revived an old business idea. He reached out to old friends. He tried, learned, started, stumbled, and continued. Some days were hard. Some brought setbacks. But every day, Elias chose to climb, just as he had learned. Because the last answer was not a secret or a spell. It was a truth. You are not defined by who you've been, but by who you are willing to become next. And Elias Harrow had finally learned how to keep climbing.